folks. Welcome to Pleasure Island Conversations. I'm your host, Monty Baumlin. My guest here is John Golan. Most of you have seen him before. John, welcome to the program.
Monty, thanks for having me.
It's always good to have you, John. John, before we start with any music, now, you still playing over at the gallery? What nights?
They have a fourth Friday each month.
The fourth Friday.
Down at the Golden Gallery, and we're one of about a dozen galleries that's on what they call the fourth Friday gallery walk in downtown Wilmington.
Yeah, that's over at the Cotton Exchange.
She's at the Cotton Exchange.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. You might as well tell the folks who've done this before. Your wife has that store over there. You've been there for how long?
Well, she started in 1977, and she had her 40th anniversary back last November.
Yeah. I still have a painting of hers hanging in the house that I think I bought it 20 years ago. It's a little painting of Wilmington downtown.
Yep.
You know what? If you looked at it now, you wouldn't recognize that as Wilmington downtown.
Wilmington's growing.
It sure is, yeah. Now, you know, you're talking to me a bit about the Mills Brothers, and oh gosh, I remember the Mills Brothers because they had so many hits. Yeah, those four guys that sang in perfect harmony. And if you recall, there was a couple of them, maybe more than two, that could imitate a musical instrument with their mouth.
Right.
In fact, it was on one of their records, and they did a heck of a job with that too.
They say that it turned out that all four of them perfected some kind of a trombone or a trumpet or whatever.
Trumpet.
They started with, supposedly they started with kazoos.
Yes, that's
They were
right.
doing kazoos with a kind of a novelty song, and they forgot, somebody didn't bring the kazoos.
Oh,
so they started imitating trumpets and trombones. And
they were a very talented group. And many years later at the Alabama Theater, when the lead singer had died, I think the only one left was Uncle, and then the lead singer's son had grown up, and he took his father's place. So I went to see them, and I'll tell you, just the two of them, the uncle and the son, it sounded just like them all over again. I mean, they had all their arrangements and all. But I think that was the end of it. I don't think they're performing anymore. The uncle probably has passed away by now. So
well, their career spanned from the early 30s through the 40s and 50s to the 60s.
Yeah.
They made it to the late 60s. And,
but they were very popular in the 50s, though. I mean, they were on the radio. I mean, they had a record coming out every month, didn't they?
Well, and they had 71 number one chart hits.
Yes.
So that was a record. And I don't even know if even Elvis, maybe the Beatles probably broke it, but anyway, it held up for a long time.
I remember when I was younger, I don't think there was anybody that didn't know who the Mills Brothers were.
And they had Glowworm.
Glowworm,
Glimmer, Glimmer.
Yeah.
And I like that line, turn on your AC and your DC.
Oh, yeah.
And that, you know, that was...
Well, would you like to do a song by one?
Yeah, let me do, because they had, they covered a lot of old standards, and this is To Each His Home.
Oh, yes.
A rose must remain with the sun and the rain, or his lovely promise won't come true. To each his own, I found my own, one and only you. What good is a song if the words just don't belong? A dream must be a dream for two. No good alone, to each his own. For me there's you. If a flame is to grow, there must be a glow. To open each door, there's a key. I need you to know I can't let you go. Your touch means too much to me. Two lips must insist on two more to be kissed. They'll never know what love can do. To each his own, I found my own, one and only.
I think we got time. Is there any other couple little parts of songs that you like?
Well, they started out in barbershop,
Yes,
as
they did.
barbershop singers.
Yes.
And they did, so they weren't gospel based like a lot of the groups
Yeah.
coming out of church singing and that. But then they did try some gospel. And one of them was the old hymn, "On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. And I love that old cross, where the dearest and best for a world of lost sinners was slain. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown.
Very good. That's an old favorite.
And they did that in the 50s.
Yeah.
And then they had, in the 60s, they went way back. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
Oh gosh, yeah. I have to get back. We got to go through some more of these songs. They're great. My director back there is telling me we're running out of
Good.
time, John. So,
All right.
But I'm going to get you back. Another month,
That's great.
another 2 months. We'll get together again.
Good deal.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We'll be right back, folks.
Register's Auto Glass, Wilmington's leading full-service glass shop. We can repair chips, nicks, and cracks in any automobile, anywhere, anytime. Can't come to us, we'll come to you. With our fleet of 7 mobile repair units, our professional installers can tackle any job. Come visit our new location at the corner of Wrightsville Avenue and Dawson Street. With the area's largest full-service glass shop, we are here for all your auto, residential, and commercial glass needs.
Lowest down payment, low monthly rates. Protective Agency.
For over 60 years, Protective Agency has been offering the lowest price and down payment on quality auto insurance. Look in the white pages for the location nearest you and start saving big. When an accident happens, we're the company that cares.
Lowest down payment, low monthly rates. Just call Protective Agency.
Well, hello. I'm Beverly Andrews with the Wilmington Symphony. I'm the concertmaster and I play the violin. Today with me, I have Carl Marzoff. Hi, Carl.
Hi, Beverly. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Great.
He's playing the bass. He's the principal bass player of the Wilmington Symphony. We have concerts about 6 times a year, and they're down at the Wilson Center, and it's wonderful. I wish everyone could come and hear. Now, from the audience perspective, Carl and all the basses would be on the right-hand side. So when you're looking at the symphony, he would be along the back, and I am in the middle. So it's kind of like that famous song, Across a Crowded Room, that Carl and I see each other. Carl, could you tell us just a little bit about how in the world you came to play in the Wilmington Symphony?
Well, when I first moved here to the area in 2003, just as a matter of trying to meet some other musicians and get connected and keep my bass playing skills up in this area, I had just been hired by Pine Valley United Methodist Church to be their music director, but still wanted to keep my bass playing going, and came and auditioned for you fine folks, and you were generous enough to let me in.
You were very good. We have loved having you, Carl.
Well, I appreciate that very much.
There's a young man standing beside you now this season. That must be a particular joy. Can you tell us?
It is. Owen Burwell. I started working with Owen when he was in junior high school and worked with him throughout his high school years and went off to college to App State And now that he's resettled back into the area after earning his degree, he's playing with us in the symphony again. This is exciting to see somebody that you've kind of raised up from a little pup, as it were, you know, to become a bass player in the symphony. It's pretty cool.
Yes, that is happening all over the symphony. In the violin section, there are several young people who were my children's age, and now they're playing right alongside me, and it's so satisfying. Okay, well, Carl, first off, I'm noticing that my violin is a lot smaller than your bass.
Yes, and it needs to be to play the much higher pitches that you play. As pitches, or as the notes get lower and lower on the piano, the strings have to continually get longer. And as the instruments have kind of developed over the years, and as we've wanted to make lower and lower sounding instruments, we just simply have to make them bigger and taller and make the string lengths longer to accommodate that. What's interesting, Beverly, is actually our two instruments here, your violin and my bass, are not really related very well. Your instrument is clearly the queen of the violin family. The basses actually more resemble a predecessor of the violins called the viol family. And so this is actually much closer relative to the viols than it is to the violins.
Huh. I've always thought of us as a family, and now you're saying you're not related.
We're not really related, no.
Okay, but you are a stringed instrument.
We are indeed, and there are a lot of similarities. Obviously, we have 4 strings, and uniquely enough, your strings are tuned the same as mine. Mine are just a whole lot lower.
Well, I'm finding this really interesting. My strings are really skinny, and yours are big and thick. Your bow looks massive, and my bow looks kind of thin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, people know about my violin, that it was made in 1895, and then it was played by a professional man, and then it was put away in a closet for 111 years and was covered with black soot. And his grandchildren took it out of the closet and took it to Raleigh to the violin maker to find out how much money they could get for it. And that violin maker called me and said, Beverly, I think I found your violin, because I'd had him on the lookout for a couple of years. And I went up and I purchased it. And my violin's been in the Library of Congress. I had to go visit it when it was in Washington, D.C. That was kind of strange. But it's back with me now, and it's so red. Now, I bet your bass has a story.
I think all string instruments have a story. My bass
Is it true, Carl?
I hope so.
Okay.
My bass was built somewhere around 1910 in an area of Germany called Mittenwald, Germany, where a lot of instruments were being manufactured about that time. It's a fully hand-carved instrument. It was, which means that they take an actual piece of wood and separate it lengthwise so that it's almost like filleted, and then they lay the 2 pieces side by side, glue them together, and that forms the 2 halves of either the top or the back of the instrument, and then they carve it out into the shape that it's supposed to be. This particular one's got a label in it that's marked Harold Jaeger. Was probably the builder or the manufacturer of this at that time. It seems to have gotten to the United States and ended up in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, where it was used in various bands and perhaps even the orchestra there for a short time before a gentleman purchased it back in the 1920s to play with basically a mountain jug band. And he had it for many, many years before I bought it from him in the 1980s. So it's been around, and it's just a really fine instrument that I'm pleased to be able to play today in the symphony.
It has an interesting history. A mountain jug band to the symphony hall.
Exactly.
A stringed instrument can do just about anything. And after a break, we're going to play a little bit of something so you can hear the sound about it. Thanks, Carl.
Lowest down payment, low monthly rates. Protective Agency.
For For over 60 years, Protective Agency has been offering the lowest price and down payment on quality auto insurance. Look in the white pages for the location nearest you and start saving big. When an accident happens, we're the company that cares.
Lowest down payment, low monthly rates. Just call Protective Agency.
Well, we're back. I'm Beverly Andrews, concertmaster of the Wilmington Symphony, and this is Carl Marzoff, who's the principal bass player in the Wilmington Symphony. And we're going to play a little bit of something so that you can hear the differences in these instruments. My lowest note is G. What about yours, Carl?
Well, I've got a G too, but it's actually my highest string, and it's probably about an octave down from your low G string, so I'm already starting at least an octave below you. And from there, it runs down to a low E. If you ever look at a piano, at the very end of the keyboard, the last E that you can play, that's the note that you're hearing when I play this. Now,
I love that. It's so vibrating.
Yes, it's very resonant. And the unique thing about basses is there's really no two basses that are particularly exactly alike. We don't follow an exact pattern with our instruments. So some instruments are actually a little larger than this and have 5 strings, and they add an extra string down here on the end, which is a B string. So I can even play another 4 or 5 notes below my E here. Occasionally you'll see them too with a little extra fingerboard up here up top. That'll extend the string length down to play some lower notes as well.
Whoa. Could you play us just a little something so we can hear the sound of a bass?
Yes. Well, the interesting thing is bass is not particularly a solo instrument. We play a lot with other groups and play in the symphony. Bass has always been a really fascinating instrument to me because there really isn't any music out there that doesn't have a bass part to it. Whether it's a rock and roll band or country music or whatever it might be, it's all includes the bass. So there's all kinds of fun things that you can do with it. From a simple country kind of bass line to more like a jazz. To classical. Now, there are a few bass solos out there that occasionally, just a handful of them that appear in the orchestral literature. Mahler, in his first symphony, wrote a little opening to the second movement of that symphony that is just the basses. Isn't that kind of cool?
Imagine that.
Yes. So, play a little bit of that for you. Do you recognize that tune?
Yes.
Mahler actually stole it.
Yes.
He actually borrowed that from a nursery rhyme that he must have heard when he was young.
Prairie Jacka.
And so on and so forth.
Oh, thank
It's
you,
neat how
Carl.
musicians work that way, yeah.
Yeah, a little variation.
Yeah. So would you like to play a little something on bass? Have a little go at it?
I don't know. It's sure.
It's a lot bigger than yours, I'm afraid. So in bass playing, take your left hand and spread it out as far as it'll go. Okay? Those are half steps. So between 1 and 2, that's a half step, and between 3 and 4, that's a half step. Okay?
Oh my.
So over
On
here,
violin, you have to put your fingers.
I know, almost
Okay.
on top of each other.
Right.
Bass, we spread them way out as far as we can get them, just so we can reach the next note. So right here on the D string, what I want you to play is just 4, 1, open, 1, 4, 4.
4, 1, open.
Yeah,
Oh,
you'll pick it up.
boy.
And you can just pitch it.
Where?
I won't try to teach you the bow.
Where?
Okay, so first fingers goes there.
Ow.
Uh-huh.
And here?
Yeah.
So here?
Yep. So it's 4.
Oh, 4, 1?
Yep, 4, 1, open, and then 1, 4, and then 1. There you go.
Oh, now you do it. You're saying I can't do Mary Had a Little Lamb. Touche. Well, thank you.
Yeah. So you can see what the physical demands of the instrument are. I had a student years and years ago that I told the young lady, she was just a junior high student, I said, you know, before too many years go by, you'll be able to open any jar in the house.
Exactly.
And about a year later, she came and was so excited. She was like, Mr. Marzoff, you won't believe it. My dad couldn't open a pickle jar, but I could get it open. I was like, yep. That's because of the amount of strength that's required to push these big strings down.
I still have dents in my fingers, and my hand is like shaky. Wow.
Yep.
I admire you so much, Carl.
It's a fun instrument to play. It has been a great time learning how to play it when I was young, and now being able to experience it through so many different types of music now that I'm older. It's neat.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming and being a part of Meet the Musicians.
Yeah.
And Carl and I are both in the Wilmington Symphony, and we have concerts 6 times a year down at the Wilson Center downtown in that beautiful acoustic hall. And we would love to have you come. And now you'll see us up there. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Claire McCreed. I want you to check out Major Cool's Cops and Monsters.
Tell me, pretty lovely, won't you tell me how you save me, yeah. Help me unconstrainedly, tolerate me, liberate.
I'm Eric. I'm Guy. I'm Ramon.
I'm Chris.
And we're the Disciples of Babylon, and we're here live today at Stag's Cheese Studios in beautiful Van Nuys, California, and we're recording our first album called The Rise and Fall of Babylon, so we're very excited. Music, well, it's got a little bit of everything for everybody. It's got a little bit of heaviness, a little bit of soft, cool, ethereal stuff. We're really trying to strive for like the great bands of all the eras of rock, and you know, we want to just give people an incredible experience, and exactly what you're hearing on the record is what we want to deliver live. So that's kind of what we're going after and what we're trying to achieve, that sort of excellence.
So hello, my name is Ramon. I'm from Spain. I'm playing guitar in Disciples of Babylon. Well, I discovered Wagner when I was in Spain, watching all the videos from like a lot of LA musicians and a lot of touring musicians that were playing. I was like, wow, those guitars sound amazing. What is that? Wagner? Today I have with me my Shiva 20th anniversary Ecstasy and a Wagner Ubershell. And I love, those are my favorite 3 Wagner amps, at least for my opinion. I love them all, but that's how I like my top 3. And this like feels so good when I play them. It's like just the sound. You strum a chord, and it's like that sound. It's like it's big and with a lot of clarity. You strum a chord, and even if you have a lot of gain on it, you can hear all the notes and all the stuff. So that's what I like the most. Yeah.
For me, I think music is the one thing in the world that brings people together.
Yeah.
And I think that's the power that we control when we make good music and when we talk about good stuff like we do.
And I think it was Jimi Hendrix that said, music is my religion. For me, music is my religion. And I know for a lot of people around the world, so I agree with what Guy says, that music to me is the only art form that puts people together and it brings people together. So what we're trying to achieve, obviously, with that is thought-provoking music and, you know, songs that people are going to sing back to us so they can feel, and something that they can believe in.
Everyone's very divided, and, you know, I think the music is what's going to bring people together at the end of the day. You know, art, music, art, and all that kind of stuff is something that we can all relate to, and yeah, I think that's why it's important.
I think that we make music to make people happy, you know, to make people feel good, like, because we feel good and we make people feeling good with our music too, so it's important.
Yeah, I think we're a global band. I think what we're trying to achieve, at least my original idea for this band, is to be a band like, you know, like a U2, like a Muse, that really just had a message behind their music, something that people can connect with. And like what Chris says, it's about the times that we're in now. You know, there's so many different craziness that's going on around the world, the government, everything, and that's kind of like the title, The Rise and Fall of Babylon. We're kind of in a very precarious time right now in our society and around the world, so we're trying to touch upon those in our music and hopefully connecting with the audience.